Just say this before bed and get results by morning. Do you want to wake up tomorrow to a completely transformed reality? There's a powerful prayer from the Bible that Neville Goddard called the most wonderful prayer ever uttered. It's short, it's simple, and it's immensely powerful. This prayer aligns you with the state of the wish fulfilled, instantly unlocking the flow of miracles into your life. You can use it to manifest any desire, no matter how difficult it may seem right now. In this video, I'll teach you exactly how to use it tonight to start getting results by morning. Hello, my beautiful superheroes. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi. I'm Scarlet Grace, and I'm here to share powerful manifestation techniques with you based on the law of assumption and Neville Goddard's teachings to help you manifest all of your heart's desires. Today, I'm sharing a method so simple but so transformative, you'll wonder why you didn't try it sooner. This isn't just a prayer. It immediately activates your subconscious mind to manifest your desires. This prayer is straight from the Bible and used by Neville Goddard himself. Now, when I say prayer, it's not limited to any one religion or belief system. It can be used by anyone, regardless of the spiritual background or personal beliefs. In Neville Goddard's teachings, there is God with a lowercase g, that is our human imagination, while we're incarnated here as humans on earth. This is the part that decides on an outcome to manifest and imagines it's already true. And then there's God with capital G, which is the part of us that isn't incarnated here. It's the part of us that created the universe and the planets and the stars and the sun. And that's the part that manifests our desires here. That is the part that knows how to make them happen and puts all the pieces together to bring us our manifestation when human us cannot figure out how to make it happen. This prayer is addressed to that infinite intelligence, which you can refer to as God or the universe, the matrix of reality, your higher self, infinity, infinite intelligence, or any other name that resonates with you personally. This incredibly powerful prayer is from the Bible, from when Jesus resurrected Lazarus, found in the Gospel of John. The story behind it is this. Lazarus, who was a friend of Jesus, was sick, and they called Jesus to come and heal him. But Jesus was away, and he actually took a long time to come back. So by the time he arrived, Lazarus had actually died, and he had been dead for 4 whole days, and all his friends and family were mourning his loss. Now, many of the people gathered there actually believed that Jesus could do miracles and that had he come sooner, Lazarus would have still been alive. But they didn't think anything could be done anymore since he was already dead. So Jesus asked people to roll away the stone from Lazarus' tomb, but everyone kept protesting that nothing can be done anymore, so what's the use of rolling away the stone? But Jesus insisted until they rolled away the stone. And then he called for Lazarus to come out. And Lazarus just walked out of his tomb in front of the utterly shocked and surprised crowd. At that moment, Jesus lifted his eyes to the sky and said, "Thank you, Father, that thou hast heard me. I knew that you always hear me." Which in more modern English terms means, "Thank you, Father, that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me." So let's dive into why this prayer works and exactly how to use it to manifest your desires. Neville Goddard called these words that Jesus said after resurrecting Lazarus the most wonderful prayer ever uttered. That's because it puts you straight into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Most people, when they think of prayer, they think it is this thing that we do, those words that we say when we want to ask for something. You have some kind of difficulty in your life, you don't know what to do, you pray to ask for God or the universe to give you a solution, to resolve your situation. You're sick and you pray that you get healed. You need money desperately and you pray for money to come. So when we think of prayer, most people have it in our minds as something that we do when we need to ask for something. And many people think that they need to beg. They need to really state their case. Like, I need this. I really need this. I'm not kidding. This is a legitimate need and I'm a good person and I deserve to have an answer to my prayer. And this is why I deserve it. This is why I'm so desperate. I did everything I could. Believe me. Please help me. But this isn't actually true. This is not what prayer is, and this is not how prayers work. It says so in the Bible. Whatever you pray for, believe that you have received it, and you will. That's what it says. And that's exactly how we manifest our desires. So you don't have to justify why you're asking for something. You don't have to be deserving of what you're asking for you to receive it. You don't have to be desperate for you to get help. You don't need any of that. All you have to do is decide what it is that you want, ask for it, and then immediately decide that you have already received it. And that's how you receive it. And that's what this prayer does. If you look at this story closely, you will notice that there is no point where Jesus actually raised his eyes to the skies and said, "Oh God, please allow Lazarus to come back to life," or anything like that. He didn't need to do that because he already knew what he wanted. He wanted Lazarus to come back to life. The prayer only states, "Thank you for the results I got." And then he says, "I knew that you always hear me." And that's the most important part. You don't have to keep asking for what you want. All you have to do is move into the state of the wish fulfilled. Your desire is heard the moment you have it. All desires come from God or the universe or infinity. The moment you have a desire, know that it can be yours. Otherwise, you wouldn't desire it in the first place. So the moment a desire gets born inside of you, the moment you have the desire and you decide, yes, this is what I want, that moment, you have already prayed to ask for it. You don't need to put it into words. All you have to do is move into the state of the wish fulfilled. This is the receiving state. This is where you need to be to get your desire in the physical 3D world. By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by declaring it done, you impress this belief upon your subconscious mind, and then your subconscious rearranges circumstances to make your desire a reality. This prayer works exactly because it puts you right into the state of the wish fulfilled. Later in this video, I'm going to share with you some of my own stories from my own life of how I used this prayer and what I manifested with it. But before we get to that, let me share with you exactly how to use it to manifest any desire that you have. So here's what you need to do. First of all, decide on what it is that you want to manifest. And it can be anything. This can be used for any kind of manifestation. It can be used for a specific person. It can be used for money. It can be used for health. It can be used for any kind of desire. It doesn't matter what it is. You can use this prayer for anything. Now, the moment you decide on what you want, consider that you've already asked for it. You don't have to do anything else to make sure that you asked for it. You already did. Your desire already asked for it to be granted. The only thing that you need to do is to move straight into receiving, and you do that by saying this prayer. Now, at this point, if you can briefly imagine already having your desire and get into the feeling that you would have if you had your desire, that is useful. If whatever it is that you're trying to manifest makes it difficult for you to get into the state of the wish fulfilled, it doesn't matter. Then move straight into the words of the prayer. And the words of the prayer are, "Thank you, Father, that thou hast heard me. I know that you always hear me." And you don't have to use that exact wording if you don't like it. If it sounds archaic, you can use the more modern version. Or if your first language is not English, you can translate it into your own language. Because the words are not magical by themselves. It's the state they put you in that make them magical. So start saying this prayer over and over and over. And you can say it as many times as you want. And if you can fall asleep thinking of those words, that would be ideal. Just say those words over and over. Take your mind off of the problem and just feel what the words are saying. Thank you because you heard me. Thank you because you answered my prayer already. I know that you always hear me. I know that I can always rely on you to give me my desires. Thank you. Thank you. That's the message behind this prayer. Now let me share with you the results I've had using this prayer in my own life. And the second story that I'm going to share with you is one of those stories that if I hadn't experienced it personally, I would think it can't be true. I would think that whoever is telling this story is lying because this cannot happen. But let's start with the first story. So when I first heard about this, and that was when I was new to Neville, I decided to try it. And back then, I didn't have a lot of money. And I wanted to take this course, which I needed for my job, but I didn't have all the money. I needed an extra $150 to get into that course because enrollment was closing and I wouldn't be paid for my job in time to pay for the course. So I didn't know what to do and I decided to use this prayer and see what happens. So the night before enrollment closed, I used this prayer and I fell asleep mentally repeating this prayer over and over and over. And I wasn't focused on manifesting the money, right? Because Neville says, don't manifest the means for what you want. Imagine that you have the end result. So my end result was not the extra money. My end result was enrolling in that course. And I was thinking maybe a friend will pay for it. Maybe, I don't know, they will have a last minute contest or something with free spots on this course, and that's how I get it. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I was focused on actually getting into the course and not manifesting the money. So I used this prayer the night before enrollment closed, and the next day when I woke up, nothing had actually changed. There was no sudden opportunity to get into the course for free or in any other way. Nobody was offering to pay for me to get into the course. Nothing had changed. And then as I was folding the laundry, I realized that there was something in one of my pockets, one of the pockets of one of the jeans I was folding, which was weird because I always check my clothes before putting them into the washing machine, right? And I check into the pocket and I find the exact amount that I needed, which was crazy. Well, it was in euros, not in dollars, because I don't usually have dollar bills, but it was the exact amount I needed, and it didn't even look like that money had gone through the laundry. Now, this was a pair of jeans that I hadn't worn for like 2 years, and somehow I found it and thought, oh, I haven't worn this in a long time, let's wash it, before putting it into the washing machine. So it wasn't crazy that something would be in the pockets, but generally, other than, I don't know, the stray change that somebody gives me and I'm in a rush and I don't want to open my purse to put it in, I don't usually put money in my jeans pockets, especially large amounts of money. I don't usually put $150 or 150 euros in my pocket. And also back then, I wasn't making that much money, so this was not the kind of amount somebody would give me and I would put it in my pocket and just forget I had it. I would need it for stuff. I would remember I had it. So it's crazy that I found it in a pocket of a pair of jeans that I hadn't worn for 2 years and never even remembered putting it there. The second story is even crazier. You know how I usually say manifestation happens in a way that even if it feels weird, it usually makes sense. It doesn't break reality. It is a series of incidents that even if they look unlikely, they still make sense from a logical perspective. You will not see a portal opening up and what you want spitting out of it. You will not have money raining inside your apartment or something. Well, this manifestation that I had is one that doesn't actually make logical sense. And if somebody else told me about it, I wouldn't actually believe that it happened that way. So here's what happened. Once again, I needed money for something. I had to pay a bill that was too big all of a sudden. Something had happened. I don't remember what kind of bill it was, but I had a bill that was 500 euros more than it usually was, and I really needed the money. And again, that was at a time in my life where I wasn't making that much money. And I also had a pattern where I kept losing the money that I was making. And this is a set point kind of issue. If you have this kind of issue, if you keep manifesting more money and at the same time you get an extra expense on top of that every time and you don't get to keep the money, you will need to look into your set point when it comes to money, because that's how you fix this kind of thing, so you don't have to keep losing the money that you manifest. If you don't know how to do that, I have a video explaining what the set point is and how to change it. You can find it up to the right and also in the description below. But here's what happened. So I needed 500 euros extra to pay that bill. And I managed to manifest getting that 500 euros. Somebody gave that money to me. And I had it on my dinner table because I felt sick. I had a high fever. And I didn't think to put it away. I just left it on the table when I came home and went to bed because I had a fever. So the next day, the doorbell rings, and it's one of those guys from the gas company that has come to check so that they can issue my next bill. And remember, at that point, I'm still very sick. I have a high fever. I'm not feeling well at all. So I don't actually check to see if the guy is legit, if he's actually from that company. And he may have been or he may not have been. I don't check his name. I check nothing. I just let him in and he does what he's supposed to do. And he rushes out in a hurry, which is not unusual because they have to visit many different apartments within a day. So I don't think much of it. But then When I'm feeling a little bit better during the day, I realize that I had that money on the dinner table and the money is gone. And it was standing out because it was almost empty and there's the money and the guy walked right in front of that amount. And I realized that that's why he walked out in such a hurry, because he wanted to steal the money before I realized what was going on. The money was not there. And obviously that got me super upset, because here I was at home all alone, sick, and here comes this guy and steals the money from me under my nose, the money that I truly needed. It wasn't just that I wanted it, I needed it to pay my bills. And there was nothing I could do. I didn't even know if the guy worked for the company or if he just pretended to work for that company so that he could go around robbing people. I didn't have his name. I had nothing. There was nothing I could do in the physical world. So after crying about it and being upset, when I was feeling better and I wasn't sick anymore, I decided to use this prayer, thinking that I will manifest the same amount of money again somehow so that I could pay that bill in time. That was what I was expecting to happen. I didn't expect the money to just come back or the guy to come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I feel guilty for stealing your money and here's your money back. I just expected that I will somehow manifest the same amount of money all over again in time for me to pay that bill. So what happened was, a day and a half later, suddenly I look at the dinner table and the money is at the exact spot I had left it, which I know sounds unbelievable, but I swear it wasn't there before. That table was almost empty. There was nothing where the money could have slipped under. It wasn't like a book or an envelope and I left it on top of the money and I thought I lost the money or somebody stole that amount. It was an empty table. And all the previous days I had been sick. I didn't tidy up. I didn't change the position of anything on that dinner table. Nobody came in or out after the guy left. So nobody could have brought that money or changed its place from where I left it to on that place on the dinner table. It didn't move. I didn't move it. Nobody brought it to me. Nobody had keys from my place. It just wasn't there for days. And suddenly, the same amount of money, the exact bills, were in the exact spot on my dinner table where I'd left it. And that's a story that proves why we should focus on having the end result and not focus on how it is going to happen. Because if somebody came up to me and said, hey, you talk about the law of assumption and how we can manifest anything we want. So can I just make money appear in my house out of thin air, just materialize on my dinner table out of nowhere? I would say, you know what? You can, theoretically you can, but I don't think that's very likely to happen. But here it is. It happened for me. I don't know how. I didn't even consider the possibility that the money would just materialize, but it did. I've also used it to manifest contact with a specific person after a decade. Now, this wasn't a person that I was still interested in romantically, but this was a person that used to be very important to me. And I hadn't spoken with them in a decade. And even though they have social media, they didn't seem to be active in their social media accounts for multiple years. I didn't have their phone number. They had moved out of the country. So I didn't think I could actually reach out to them in any way. So I used this prayer. And honestly, I didn't expect anything to happen immediately. I used it for several days, thinking at some point, somehow, I will get connected to this person again, right? And it wasn't a very urgent matter, but after using it for several days, that person actually went online and they accessed their social media accounts when they hadn't in years. They started posting and then they messaged me saying, hey, you have been on my mind and I don't know why we haven't spoken in 10 years. I would like to catch up. I will be in your city in a couple of weeks and would you like to go for coffee with me? So you can definitely use it for a specific person. And by the way, if you're manifesting a specific person, you may want to check out my 21-day course on how to manifest your specific person. In this course, I walk you through the process of manifesting any specific person you want easily and without confusion. And if you need some extra help or my advice for your specific manifestation, coaching is open. You can find the links for all of those things in the description below. This prayer is also my go-to prayer when I have some kind of physical symptom and I want to manifest health. Because one of the difficulties that people have when they want to manifest being healed is that how can you get into the state of the wish fulfilled if, for example, right now you are in extreme pain or you have some kind of really, really annoying symptom that you cannot ignore. It's physical, it's right there. You cannot just pretend it's not happening, right? Especially when you go to bed at night and you still experience that symptom and you cannot even sleep. So this is the prayer I use in cases like that. If you are in pain and that's why you cannot go to sleep and that's why you cannot get into the state of the wish fulfilled, when you visualize that you're completely healed, you use this prayer and you don't have to get into the state of the wish fulfilled to use it. You just start repeating the words and that actually puts you in the state of the wish fulfilled. And for me at least, that usually helps me get to sleep even when I am in pain. And it also has healed many different things that bothered me in the past. For example, I used to have digestive issues that were persistent and I always needed medication for them. And at some point, I started using this prayer because those issues disturbed my sleep. I just couldn't fall asleep because the symptoms got worse when I was laying down to sleep. So I started saying this prayer instead of focusing on how I cannot sleep because of the symptoms. And after a few days, the symptoms started being less intense. And then they weren't every day, they were every few days. And then they happened more and more rarely until I stopped having symptoms at all. And it just got healed. So this prayer is ideal when you're dealing with some kind of manifestation that you feel is too difficult, is impossible, cannot be done, or you're very negative and cannot get into the state of the wish fulfilled. If you want another technique that works very well when you have a lot of resistance and don't believe that you can manifest your desire, you want to check out the video that's on your screen right now, because that's another technique that has given me amazing results. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon because I put out new videos every Sunday to help you manifest an amazing life.